All right, what's good, everybody, and welcome back to the Triple P podcast. We talk about everything peace, prosperity, and progress. Today, we're here with Cody Miller, man. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Let the people know what you got going on.
How's it going? My name's Cody Miller. I kind of come from all over the place. Today I'm going to talk about my hometown, Washington State, and we'll get things rolling on that. Talk about the big differences between my experience in the deep south of Alabama versus liberal Washington. So let's get right into it.
Yeah, very polarizing, I would imagine, like polar opposites.
Absolutely,
you know what I mean?
man. I mean, it's kind of wild how different a world it is.
Well, Washington's primarily like Democratic, I would assume.
Absolutely.
Like very blue. Yeah, which I mean, I'm not big into politics, I won't lie to you. I try to avoid them for the most part just because every time you try to talk to somebody about it, it's like people are either on one side or the other. Not many, like, yeah, I'm just somewhere in the middle on pretty much everything, so.
As am I. I don't
You
really
know.
kind of focus on politics themselves.
But it is very
I
interesting
don't
to
really
look,
like politics.
like,
Yeah.
from a geopolitical standpoint of, like, which regions have more people skewed toward a certain side of the debate, because, like, I guess there's factors that go into that. Like, I think the history of Alabama, especially, like, and Florida, Georgia, all the deep south states, definitely kind of makes people's minds up about certain issues before they even get talked about in legislative purposes. So, I mean, hey, man.
No, absolutely. It's kind of wild to see how different their views are compared to down here. And I say Washington is predominantly blue. They do have their red parts, but for the most part, the entirety of the state is blue, and they are very strong about what they believe in. As are they down here with red. I mean, it's kind of uncanny how complete opposites these places are, and it's not even just the aspect of politics, but like the way they manufacture things and how different their economies are too. Washington is predominantly known for their technological and surprisingly agricultural advances.
Oh shit! I never know
And
that.
Alabama is mainly known for their manufacturing. And so it's kind of interesting because you'd think, you got FFA everything down here,
Yeah.
and they're all about agriculture, but their main focus in this state is their manufacturing.
Yeah, there's a lot of manufacturing plants down here, especially for cars and just random necessities. You wouldn't even think they make manufacture a lot of things down here, but it's more because they've gotten rid of a lot of farmland just for plants. They built an asphalt plant not too far away from where I live, and they tore down like 2 or 3 big buildings. To be fair, those buildings haven't been used in years, but it still tore down a bunch of land that could have been used for farms or something else, like residential area. But no, it's just a big asphalt plant now, and a lot of people have moved away because of it.
Oh, I believe it. And it's kind of crazy, too, talking about the economy differences there, too. The cost of living is ramped up crazy high in Washington State as opposed to Alabama, but that's also because they are way more populated and they have
They
a
also
higher
have
pay.
a higher population of producers.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, for example, I was living in an apartment my recent time in Washington, and the rent was $1,300 a month just for that.
Yeah.
God.
However, their minimum wage is $17 and some change right now, and that's
ours is-
in pretty
Ours is
decent-
still sitting at like $7 and something.
Which is crazy. I think it might have came up to like maybe closer to 8, if not.
But
tiny
the
bit over
thing
8.
is, a nice apartment in Huntsville, like our biggest city that's anywhere near us, is like 1,100-1,200 unless you want to live like
Yeah.
in the ghetto. You know what I'm
Which
saying?
means that's basically
So-
your entire
Yeah.
check for the month
Yeah.
on that.
I believe it, but it's also kind of crazy too because I have family that lives down here, and my grandmother, she lives in a 2-bedroom, fully decked out apartment. It's only $800 a month,
No shit.
right?
Where's
And
that at?
That's in
though?
Gunnersville.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's right on the lake.
Gunnersville and Albertville both have pretty good apartment prices. For some reason, Huntsville is just like jacked up, though. I guess it's because there's such a high amount of turnover of people moving into Huntsville. So like they're
Growing
still
fast.
just yeah,
It's
yeah.
also a highly gentrified area. Like it's a
Hmm.
giant city
Oh yeah, well,
compared to all
there's
this
so
like
many
the
cultures that
giant
come in
buildings.
too. Hmm.
That's
Crazy.
that's another topic about Washington too. The big culture difference. For the most part, the majority of Alabama in the past have been residents that have been born and raised in the state and have never left in their life.
Really?
But as of now, I mean, with everything going on in our current world with the politics and just all these motions that are being put into place, they've had a lot of migrants been pushed down to southern states such as Alabama. But with that culture difference, like Washington is not predominantly just one big culture. I mean, it's
It's a
so much
mix.
separate. We have Ukrainian refugees coming because of the conflict overseas,
Mm.
and we have a high Mexican, Asian population.
So would you say it's a melting pot area, or is it more of
I'd say
a,
something along the lines of that, but
or is there still predominantly one race that takes over most of the area?
I'd say it's a big melting pot,
Big melting
honestly. I
pot.
mean, I've met quite a few different people from all over the world who are residing in Washington.
Oh, okay.
Well, people don't want to admit to it, I feel like, but in my opinion, I think really anywhere you go, and you can go in a lot of small Alabama towns, like to find evidence of it, but really anywhere you go now, there's probably at least like somewhat of a um, like melting pot type of situation. Like you have Arab, for instance, like small town Arab. It used to be probably like, if not 100%, probably 90% Caucasian. And then now you got like a pretty decent population of like Hispanic, like Asian, African, like a lot of different cultures coming in there. And then Huntsville as well used to not be nearly as diverse. Now you
No.
can go in Huntsville and find like all kinds of different communities. But the only thing with Huntsville and a lot of other cities for real is it's pocketed kinda. Like certain people still kinda choose to stay separated. And but then there's a lot of situations where people come together and there's opportunity for like interconnectivity amongst communities and things like that. So I mean, but yeah, long story short, I think pretty much everywhere in the world in the current day there's a lot of cultures around. You
There's a
just may
big
not
mix.
realize
People
it.
just don't
Absolutely.
understand the mix
Yeah.
because some people just don't come out of the house in
Yeah.
areas like that because of their history.
Yep.
Like they'll
Yep.
research their history and they'll see that it doesn't have a great
Background.
understanding or background behind culture differences or like people who move there. They have such a high culture shock, but they end up liking it so much to where they'll tell their friends to come and move there if they're interested in moving anywhere. And then those friends will have culture shocks really bad, and sometimes they'll move away and they'll have a more prejudiced opinion on the place, which everyone has their bias on their own opinion. But I feel some places like that are overlooked in how they can actually help culture differentiation because things just get better over time.
Absolutely. I wholeheartedly believe that. Um,
I mean, yeah, it shows you that it can be done. Like when areas that used to be very segregated or prejudiced or whatever you want to call it, like when areas like that can be. I hate to use the word gentrified. That's really what it is. Like when they can be a good level of gentrified and kind of brought up to modern standards and modern speed. Like you always got your older folks that kind of have a struggling or struggle to adapt. But I guess honestly, that's a good question to ask about the difference. Like in Washington, is there still a lot of like racial tension there, or do you say you don't really see that?
I'd say in terms of police related crimes, there's
Mm.
racial tension. However, in terms of civilian crime, the like actual race part is kind of unseen. It's just kind of a isolated crime.
Yeah. I mean, I see that because, I mean, even in Alabama, I mean, I'm sure there's still people, like I know there are, 'cause I've encountered some that are very racist towards a certain group of people or whatever. But I think for the most part, people, like at least our age at least and younger, like even 30s, 40s, most of them are not that way. You know, they may be like subconsciously sometimes, but I don't think that people are inherently just aiming to be that way anymore. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
times have changed.
Yeah.
I think people just grow up around a certain opinion or a certain way, and they just take it off and run.
I'd absolutely think it
Yeah.
has to do with how you're raised as well. And
They
not
don't touch
just
on their own opinion. They
being
just
a
kind of
bigot, you know?
yeah.
Well, I'm thankful that I developed the ability over time to really like have my own opinions and not have a hive mind, because a lot of people kind of stick with either what the internet says or what the people around them say. And like, it's good. I love gathering opinions from people, but I'm never going to take somebody's opinion and make it mine. Like, I may take influence from you. Like, you may say something that really triggers something in my brain, and I think about it for like later on when I'm by myself, and I'm like, oh shit, you know, that makes a lot of sense. I see where he's coming from. But it's kind of like that with me. I don't ever really try to follow exactly what somebody else thinks, because it's not a good way to be. Because, you know, you
Not at
want to
all.
have your own autonomous
formulate- yeah,
opinion.
you
The
wanna
only
So,
person
formulate
who
your
sees
own-
through your eyes is you.
Exactly. You're the only person who can think what your opinion
and,
can be.
you know, it's okay for people to disagree, too. I mean, like,
That's human
debates.
nature.
Yeah, debates are just a simple part of life. You're always going to encounter people who have a different opinion from you, but it's about how you handle yourself during those discussions with people. Because if you like attack everybody that don't think the same as you, I mean, that's one of the biggest issues with our country. It's like we're more divided than we should be, and it's been that way for like a long time. You know, like I mean, hell, look at the Civil War, even dating back hundreds of years, should have never happened. But you know, it's neither here nor there.
Yeah,
You know, can't do nothing about it now. But
absolutely. Something else that's kind of interesting as a big comparison is the drug outbreak that has been going on in both states, actually. I mean,
yeah,
there's quite a lot of bad things happening there. I mean, in my time living here, I see quite a lot of methamphetamine running the streets.
Oh,
and
yeah.
people unfortunately succumbing to that. And living in Washington as an adult now, it's in the inner cities. It's kind of disheartening to go there now because a lot of people, even people younger than us. I mean,
yeah.
I
There's
went to a Korn
17-year-olds
concert.
like dying on the street. No, it's sad.
It is sad. I went to a Korn concert with my girlfriend at the time, and we were in Tacoma. We were heading to the Tacoma Dome to go see this concert, and as we're walking up, we see this child. Like, he was like maybe 14, 15 years old, and he's just slumped over, geeking out on fentanyl.
Yeah.
And
Oh my
it was
goodness.
very disheartening to see that. And at the place I resided in Spanaway Parkland area, that was a relatively high crime area as well. And I'd see what we like to call Tent City, where it's just a massive gathering of homeless and drug addicts and people who have thrown their lives away, and they're all just
People who
selling
are
their
there
belongings,
voluntarily.
stealing, committing crime just to get that next hit of dope.
Yeah,
Oh,
we
man.
we had a pretty big fentanyl problem in Alabama overall for a while. I don't think it's as bad now. Or it probably has gotten worse, I will say, since the laws passed with the hemp and everything. Because now there's like a lot more people back selling, and you know, it's a bigger market. Which I don't want to get too big into that, but either way, point being, like, we've had our issues with it, but I think Alabama has bigger issues. Like, I think we have more economic issues versus drug issues. Like, we have our pockets for sure where drugs are like really bad, but I'd say overall it's not terrible.
Yeah, and that's kind of another thing that brings back that topic of Washington being almost polar opposites. I mean, Seattle used to be a pretty thriving city. I mean, yes, it has had its crime, and it's been a high crime rate city for a long time. However, people used to thrive in that city. They used to love it, and they'd, go to their daily jobs, go back to their apartment viewing the Puget Sound, and the drug problem has gotten so bad there that rent is cheaper in Seattle than Tacoma, Washington. And
No
Tacoma,
way.
Washington is about half the size of Seattle.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, you can get like an apartment in a tower that looks over the Puget Sound. It's like a one-bedroom apartment for about $1,100 a month. But
Oh
a
my
studio in
God.
Tacoma would be about like 12, 13.
Wow. That's
insanity,
crazy.
right?
Do
And
you live anywhere near close to those areas?
I live about 40 minutes south of Seattle and about 20 minutes from Tacoma.
So is the place you live still pretty built up, or is it kind of more rural?
It's a lot more rural, I'd say. I mean, they have their schooling and they have some federal buildings and like human resources and whatnot. But I wouldn't say it's predominantly known for being like a business-esque or manufacturing-esque city.
So is it like smaller or bigger population than say like what you're used to down here where you're from or where
Absolutely
you live
bigger.
down here?
Absolutely
Oh, so it's
bigger.
actually okay.
Yeah, it's definitely a decent sized area, and the majority of Alabama, minus like Birmingham, Montgomery, Huntsville,
Yeah.
the major cities here.
Coleman's pretty big too. It's gotten
Yep.
a lot bigger even since you've been gone. But
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I was in Coleman the other day actually.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, just doing some shopping, and it's kind of interesting to see how much has changed in the short time I had been gone.
Oh yeah.
A lot of things change in a very short time, especially like with small little towns like that. They end up building up really quick.
Yeah, and Huntsville's still on the rise for expansion.
Huntsville's
Which
been
is
expanding
crazy,
for
'cause
years.
Like a lot of people that live in Huntsville are always complaining like stop moving here please because like the traffic and everything is
There's
increased
so
heavy.
much more
The
traffic, over
traffic
the last
is
few years.
absolutely terrible. I-5 in Washington State is probably one of the worst traffic spots I've seen since New York.
Oh god.
You ever been to Colorado? They got 8-lane highways
passed
out
through.
there. My God.
Now, I haven't seen that, but I will say, out of experience through driving on I-5, I've had moments where I've turned a 20-minute drive into a 2-hour drive.
Oh wow. No, I bet those are fun days.
You're saying it, man.
Fun day.
But so
yeah.
like you say it's rural but like bigger than like the smaller areas out here. So
I'd say
like
it's rural for what it is. Like, comparing what rural may mean down here, like, it's, again, a huge difference what is a big city and a small town here versus a big city and a small town there.
So, like, when you say rural up there, it's kind of probably more like there's a lot of houses, but it's more residential
Yeah,
than
it's a
business
lot more
oriented.
residential than business oriented.
So, and it's still, like, Washington's still pretty lush as far as greenery and everything.
Oh,
so, I imagine
absolutely.
there's still a lot of, like, trees and grass everywhere. And, like,
Absolutely. They have beautiful evergreen trees. They have, like, glorious mountain ranges, too. They have volcanoes. Mount St. Helens is there. Mount Rainier, Mount Baker. They're all
Have you ever
beautiful
been
sites.
to a mountain range or a park in?
Absolutely, yeah. I used to hike Mount Rainier quite often, and
Oh.
the fun fact about that, it's still a active volcano.
Mm.
Yeah, and it's supposedly 100 years overdue for an eruption.
Wow.
Hey, better hope we live past it.
Yeah, I hope
Yeah.
so too. That would be pretty catastrophic. I mean, they'd have a lot of downfall in like river irrigation systems, and the close cities and towns around them would catch magma and smoke and noxious gas from these volcanoes. And
Thousands of people would probably die like immediately.
more than likely, if they don't evacuate, and I mean, people in Washington can be pretty stubborn.
Do you ever go to Lake Tacoma? Been out there?
I haven't been to Lake Tacoma. I have been to American Lake, which is pretty similar. I mean, it's very big in size as well. And I resided in this very small town called Rochester for a little while. And they had some pretty beautiful rivers and nice little plains and open mountain ranges too. And
Oh, that sounds amazing.
yeah, it's very nice. It's a very peaceful environment, really, when
So-
you're away from the city.
Is there a lot of suburbs like there is here?
Yeah. So as you kind of go along, there's exits off the interstate that will take you to smaller towns and like really backwoodsy areas that kind of make me reminisce of Alabama, if I'm being completely honest. I mean, there are some very few similarities, and
Yeah.
it's kind of interesting to see that too, because sometimes I'll catch myself driving out in the backwoods of like Rochester, Napa Vine area, and I'm just like, wow, it's just
Am I in
pastures.
Alabama right now?
Yeah, it's just pastures. The only difference is the trees. They're
Okay.
evergreen trees instead of like the oaks and pines here.
Well, that's kind of what I was wondering. What you kind of answered my question is like, is there a lot of open stretches of land like there is out here, or is there pretty much houses or businesses like everywhere? you
Away
go?
from the city, you'll find the pastures and farmlands.
Okay.
But as you get closer to, say, like our capital, Olympia or Seattle or Tacoma, Oklahoma, or any of those areas like Kent, that's where you're gonna find like all the houses and businesses and skyscrapers and buildings and state capitol buildings and whatnot.
Well, see, and that's one thing about Huntsville. If we could build skyscrapers in Huntsville, it would become the next Atlanta, and I'm fully convinced of that. But we're not allowed to build so high because of the arsenal, because you can't be able to, like, one, you can't be able to look down off of something and see it, and you also can't be, like, can't be too high because they shoot things off
Yeah.
in there, so the blast radius can, like, that would be pretty bad. A skyscraper
would be.
come falling down,
It
but
could be some pretty
I think
bad
it
unforeseen
could
consequences.
ruin the supports over time and cause the buildings to fall over.
well, yeah, all
Absolutely.
that pressure and like shaking and rattling. Which I mean, that luckily we don't live near like the tectonic plates and everything that like Texas, like they have all the earthquakes, and I'm glad we don't have to deal with that. Alabama's pretty good other than the thunderstorms.
It's
Got to
not
watch
like
out
they
for
care,
them.
bro. They
but-
still build all that crazy stuff, and they've done it for years, and they still keep doing it.
Absolutely. You know, something crazy. Have y'all heard about the tsunami that affected Hawaii and
Yeah.
whatnot? The West Coast actually got a similar effect. It
Really?
wasn't, like nearly as
Yeah, like San
detrimental,
Andreas, right? They got hit by it because they made that movie about it with The Rock.
no, that was recent. Like this recent time, there was a tsunami that had happened, and it struck Hawaii, and I think it was directly caused because of an earthquake somewhere in Russia. And Russia had gotten probably the worst of the tsunamis, and then Hawaii was seeing like 7 foot waves that were crashing up on their shores, and in some parts of like Oregon on the coast and California and even like southern Washington area got some pretty big waves there too.
Oh, so I forgot you even had beaches in Washington. Do you like the beaches out there? Or?
The beaches don't get nice until California. They're very cold and windy and kind of just gray and gloomy. But
That could
you know,
be
they
cool
don't
for
like
some
those
people.
beaches aren't really meant for like a day at the beach, and people still do that. They
Yeah.
still do that, but the majority of the beaches up there in Washington and like the northern and middle parts of Oregon are mainly fishermen's land.
Oh, okay.
Right, so they're constantly catching fish and trading through different states and keeping things stocked up and whatnot.
So, living kind of close to Seattle, do you experience like really harsh winters up there?
In recent years, no. It's kind of just been wet and rainy and just kind of really cold. I do remember as a kid when I used to live there. I was about 8, 9 years old. There was this massive blizzard that came through. They put like 2 feet of snow on the ground, and like we were out of school for like almost 2 weeks.
Wow.
That was kind of like a one-off thing, though. I mean, we get snow, just not very often in our parts.
Because I mean, I thought Seattle was one of like the coldest parts like during the winter, but I might be wrong about that. I
Yeah,
might
the
be
Puget
confused,
Sound can
but-
get pretty cold. I mean, you got a lot of just open ocean where the Pacific just kind of branches off there, and you're catching all these winds and other, weather inclements from the ocean. So yeah, in the winter it does get pretty chilly, and it can get pretty windy over there too. And yeah.
Well, what are the lows? Like, do you know what the lows during the winter get?
During
around
the
there?
winter, I've seen them get into the negatives, but typically it's around like 9 degrees, and it's high winds.
See, that's still different than Alabama, though, because it has to be, like, a really cold winter for us to see those temperatures. Like, it's normally the coldest we get is, like, high 20s. You know what I mean? I mean, that's
Recently,
still
though,
enough to freeze.
last January, they had like a big freeze, and
Last
that was-
January, we
No,
got to
I
like
remember
-1,
that,
really
yeah.
close to 0, -1.
Yeah,
2,
black
something.
ice all over
Yeah,
the
there
roads.
was, like,
and
we
shutting
couldn't
down
go to
businesses
work.
and work and school. Yeah,
Oh, yeah, because
Everything
that
got shut
was,
down.
I think that was when we first started the podcast. It
Yeah,
was,
we
like, right
started-
after that ice storm.
Yeah, we started
had
it right
happened.
after that ice storm.
Yeah. And then there was another one, like, kind of a little bit
Wait, are you
before
sure that wasn't
that.
2 years ago that happened?
it was
I
2
think-
years ago. It was
2 years ago.
not last January, but
We
Well, it was
started
2
it
years
ago.
ago, but then, like, I
We didn't
swear
start-
this past January, there was a pretty, like, for a couple days at least, we couldn't go
It
to
was
work
snowy.
because there was, like, ice all over the
It was
place.
snowy, but it wasn't. It wasn't as
No?
icy.
That didn't happen? I guess I'm just
It
thinking
did.
of 2
No,
years
it did.
ago.
It did.
but-
It did. It wasn't as icy though. Like 2 years ago, it was icy. Like everything was covered in ice, like really, really thick, like 4 or 6.
yeah, it was cold for a couple of weeks.
Well, they say we're
they had
gonna
black
have-
ice that hadn't melt for like another week after that.
They say we're gonna have a really cold, harsh winter this winter, but I don't know if they're right
Alabama
or
is
not.
kind of one of those states that's
It's very
unpredictable weather.
finicky.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. What about Washington? Is it kinda
For the most
reliable?
part, we do have typical seasons. Spring will be kind of getting warm and it's rainy. Summer can get pretty hot. I mean, our highs have been at least 90, like at the highest 90, and then typically around the 80s range.
Oh, that's
And
nice.
their
though.
lows is 60s
really
to
nice.
50s.
That's really nice because up here it gets like up into the hundreds with like humidity making it feel like 110. It's
There's
like
not
terrible.
much humidity there.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
It is. It's a very nice environment, I'd say.
Well, I bet you actually get a little bit of fall season going on too. We don't ever really get much fall around here. It kind of comes and goes in a week or so.
During the winter, this recent time around, we saw the Northern Lights. They had
Ooh.
had this big solar storm again, and it had reached down to like Oregon and California. And it wasn't like predominant, but it was enough to still see with the naked eye, and it was
How do
pretty
people get so
majestical.
depressed in Seattle?
The crime and drug problems, probably.
I wouldn't even do crime if that was the case. Like the weather's so good.
Yeah, right.
Like, come on, bro.
Well, like
If the weather was better in Alabama, like
I'd say it's
yeah,
definitely
crime.
better to live in more rural areas. Like, staying in Spanaway with my dad was great and all, but living in Rochester, it was like a retirement home, like a retirement town. It was just small. Everything was in town,
Easy,
and it was mom and
convenient.
pop shops, and it was cheap living, and like anywhere you had to go, you could literally walk or bike. You didn't even have to drive, and it was just nice, and it kept my mind at ease.
That sounds
And
amazing.
I'd say that's like the better half of Washington. I'd say if I could recommend, if you were to ever live there, stay away from the bigger cities unless you're trying to pursue a business career.
Well, so like, do you think the income per capita in Washington in general is high? Which is I know I could find this out from a Google search, but do you think it's higher in Washington than Alabama? Like, do you think people make
Absolutely.
more money in general? I mean, I would think so, just because
Yeah,
our
'cause
minimum
the
wage
wages
and
are-
everything.
Oh yeah, with
but-
cost of living being so high, they have to kind of compensate for that. And it's also because the population is way higher than Alabama's. But another kind of nice thing is they don't do state tax off your paycheck,
Ooh,
just
okay.
federal tax.
Yeah, that's very nice. Which they, for a while, they weren't taxing our overtime, at least with state, but now they're even taxing that again. So we get double tax, federal and state, on everything we make, which is pretty rough. I mean, that's one thing about Alabama, too, in the South in general. We don't really have many work unions either, so there's not really much negotiation. You kind of get paid what you get paid, and you either deal with it or complain about it and probably just get fired. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they don't have to give you. Do they have to give you a reason they fire you in Washington?
Washington is also a
Oh,
work at
okay.
will state.
Okay. See, I think all states should have to give you like some reason you were fired.
I believe so too. I think wrongful termination can really mess up somebody's life and have pretty dire consequences for that.
I've
so.
seen it mess up people's life plenty of
Oh,
times.
yeah.
You get
Absolutely.
terminated and you have no plan, so you're just kind of screwed.
When it just sucks because they can fire you without having a reason, and you would never be able to prove it because they're not required to give you one in the first place. So, like, it worked at my work. Like, they can just come walk somebody out and not say a word to them about it, and they just have to deal with it. And it's
Criminal.
you know.
It's actually kind of criminal.
Yeah.
it should be, but it's not. You know, it's just how it
In
is.
the way
but-
it's treated, the way they're treated, it's kind of criminal, man.
So, what are some other like? I assume the food's probably pretty different up there. 'Cause we have a lot of Southern cooking.
I'd say so. They kind of branch out in more like Asian culture, Hispanic culture, and like Italian culture foods. And like in the city, actually, they have many different parts of town that serve different types of food, and it's kind of interesting, really, because a lot of people do come in and like just make their name as a mom and pop shop, as opposed to like this big chain. They're
Yeah.
trying to be fancy and make it huge and be the next fast food, but they actually take quite a lot of pride in their food, and it's been great, really.
Yeah. Do you like the cuisine up there better than down here, like the options, or did you like it better here?
I'd say in terms of having options, I'd like it better up there. but I'd say the food compared down to here, as opposed to up there, are on two different levels of and like types of food. Um, so I can't really base something off of like preference,
Yeah.
because they're both good. But there's just more diversity up there.
So
Well,
do
yeah.
you prefer eating there or do you prefer eating here?
Probably up there, but I do enjoy my southern food from time to
Do
time.
you find it easier to pick food up there?
No, I think it's a lot easier to pick food down here.
Because you already know what
yeah.
you're finna get.
Absolutely. I mean, biscuits and gravy, for example, that's a southern delicacy right there. You cannot go wrong.
See,
and that's
I
simple
struggle.
breakfast.
Sausage,
I'd
egg,
choose
and
that
cheese.
any day, as opposed to making this fancy breakfast.
See, I struggle to figure out what I want to eat though, because there's just so many options in Huntsville, and like I like everything. You know what I'm saying? Like I love sushi, I love chicken, beef, pork. The only meat I really don't like is ham. Like for some reason I'm not a ham guy, but everything else, oh yeah, I can go for it.
That's
So.
weird. You don't like ham, but you
I
like
just-
everything else.
I mean,
Ham's
I
growing
like
on me. I don't like bologna.
Bologna's pretty good.
fried bologna's alright.
It's gotta be
It's
made
okay.
right, for real.
It's not my thing. Not my thing.
Ever had a fried bologna and cheese sandwich?
I have not.
Boy, that was some hot sauce on
How
it.
y'all feel about coffee?
I can't do coffee anymore.
I don't really do. Coffee's one of them things that I've tried to like, but I just can't get into it.
I've tried to drink it a couple times, but
It's definitely an acquired taste.
Yeah.
Coffee is also a big thing up there. They take a lot of pride in their coffee, and
they have a lot of companies up there.
absolutely, Starbucks being one of them. They were founded in Washington.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, the Starbucks headquarters is in Seattle.
Yeah, they talk. There's a lot of like Washington Mountain. Like there's just like a lot of mountain coffee companies up there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. They got
dang.
mountain coffee companies. They got Avenue. They got Dutch Bros. Like they take pride in their coffee.
Yeah, we got Dutch Bros and Starbucks down here, but I don't know. I don't think we have the other one you're talking
Yeah,
about.
Avenue is actually. It took me by surprise. That's a northwestern thing, but I was very surprised with that.
So
Yeah, it's
like,
pretty cheap, and they know
Yeah,
what they're
yeah.
doing.
fair enough, man.
They give pretty good results too.
Is there a higher police presence in Washington?
I'd say it depends on where you're at. I mean, I-5 is definitely stocked with a lot of state troopers, just because it's
That's
so
already
busy.
better than yeah.
But as you go into like the more backwoodsy rural areas, the police presence kind of dwindles. But when you hit the bigger cities, I mean, there have been a lot of incidences that have happened there that require police presence.
So where you live in your area, is there a lot?
I'd say it's tame, not a lot, but not a little.
Just basically enough cops to catch your ass speeding.
Yeah.
That's about it. Yeah, I
Yeah.
got you.
But they're not really worried. That's the interesting thing. They're not really worried about popping you for speeding unless you're like reckless driving. Their like main focuses are like drive-by shootings or some drug-related issues, or trying to clean up the streets to the best of their ability. And in all honesty, it's not working very well.
Well, so I
Also,
know,
a lot
like
of that
Oregon, for instance, they tried decriminalizing like all drugs. Where does Seattle sit with like legality of drugs? Like, what all is legal out there
So
right now?
marijuana is pretty much the only legal substance that you can purchase, through just dispensary stores, and they have like little to zero restrictions. As long as you're of age, then you can walk into any dispensary and purchase what you want. However, with like bigger drugs like cocaine, heroin, fentanyl, methamphetamine, opiates, I mean, they are pretty hefty on that, and you can still get pretty big criminal charges depending on how much you have, or if the cop's willing to let you get a break, and they'll just pop you with possession. But no, yeah, Oregon I'd say that's one of their bigger mistakes, is decriminalizing all drugs, and they're actually trying to repeal that.
Yeah. Well, see, because there was a country, I don't want to sound stupid and get it wrong, but I want to say it was either Sweden or Switzerland that did it, where they basically did the exact same thing Oregon did, like nationwide. But they had programs set up to like turn around and take these people and like give them the attention they needed to get them off of the drugs and stuff. But Oregon kind of just decriminalized everything and said, well, if we make it legal, they won't want to do it as much. And then all it did was turn into a cesspool of zombies all over the streets.
It wasn't necessarily them making it legal. It was more so they would decriminalize it so the majority of inmates in prison weren't just junkies trying to get the next high. Because they obviously, you know, if you had drugs on you, they'd just take them from you. But they still wanted to keep the fluctuation of drug trafficking at bay. And by decriminalizing it, they eventually made that worse. Which is, I believe, why they're trying to repeal that.
Well, yeah, because they can't, like, if they catch somebody traveling into the city with, like, pounds of something, I mean, if it's decriminalized, they technically can't throw them in prison for it. All they can do is confiscate it, correct?
Not entirely. So, say you had pounds and pounds, that's federal drug trafficking.
Oh, okay.
So they would definitely pop you for that. So when they decriminalized the majority of all drugs, it was mainly directed at usage of drugs, as opposed to like possession and trafficking,
racketeering, and all that.
Yes. So
Makes
they
sense.
mainly tried to focus on keeping substance abusers out of prison.
Which I think that in itself is a good idea. And I think, like, the idea of making it to where they can get help and not just be immediately sent to prison because they're an addict, those are all anecdotes I can definitely get behind. But I think Oregon, for instance, just did, like I said, they didn't have the right programs set up to support the people that were on the streets. And there's just, I mean, there's first responders, there's like homeless camps, there's all these things. But once they get to capacity, they turn people away because they can't take anybody else.
Yeah.
And there's just such a large population, especially in the capital Oregon. Skipping mine right now, but capital Oregon, like I saw footage
Portland?
of that. Yeah, Portland, dude. Crazy, man. Like it's just.
I was in Portland in February this year. I was taking my girlfriend to a Deftones concert. And, yeah, it's kind of insanity to see what it's like over there with the decriminalization. I mean, it literally looked like it was straight out of The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
You know, just people
Yeah,
were
people-
laying on the
I
streets.
bet the smell was
and
great
it
on
was,
those streets.
oh, yeah.
Probably
No, I mean, you
smells
just
like
see people stumbling
drugs,
around,
man.
drooping heads, and
Do you think
sleeping
there's
on
like? Do you think
sidewalks and stuff.
Any repeat customers in that area?
Probably. I'd say. If I
There's
had
no
to
way.
guess, I don't know.
You walk into an area, go to buy something, and then there's just zombies everywhere.
Yeah.
Basically,
It's definitely, I'd say it's on the, if
Place
it's not
to-
already, it's on the brinks of a big drug pandemic that's just gonna sweep the cities. And
Hopefully they'll get it overturned before. Which I mean, that's not really necessarily gonna help. It's just gonna make it to where they can throw them back in. They really need to
I
make.
feel like that's motivation enough too, though. I mean,
Yeah.
if you realize that these substances are so dangerous that you can get a massive criminal record for them. I mean, I feel like that's
See, but most addicts
don't care.
don't care.
Yeah.
Like they're already at a point where they have nothing to lose or feel like they don't. So, especially some of the younger ones that like don't have any family, maybe came up in the foster system and end up like on the streets doing fentanyl and they don't have nobody to call, like nobody knows they're out there. Like, you know, the city only has so many workers that can check up on people. And I mean, I've even seen when people go do like interviews, make YouTube videos about Portland, like there's just so many people that say, you know, we've been trying to get help, but we just can't because the queue for help is so long. And that makes sense to me because, I mean, you just see the sheer amount of people struggling out there, and it's crazy. I mean,
It's very
Yeah.
disheartening.
I hope America eventually gets to a point where we can focus on a lot of those issues and kind of nip them in the bud or at least decrease them a lot. But it's going to take a lot of change and a lot of agreement from people, which is our biggest issue. We can't ever get on the same page. Everybody's always trying to get one up on each other. So, you know, that's just human nature. It is what it is. But, yeah, I think that would be the biggest thing is if the nation as a whole just decided that we were going to change things and banded together, that's when things would really start turning around.
think that's the only way it can progress and improve is if we
Band
stop
together.
fighting with each other and start working together and improving our
Well, I
country.
mean, you look at like I hate to go back to politics, but you look at a lot of the things that a lot of good laws that could be passed don't get passed simply because maybe the people that are in the House or in the Senate at the current time don't like whoever the president is, or they're not the same party, and so they vote against them regardless, and so they can't get anything done. And then sometimes you have a situation where, like, it's skewed towards the president's party and everything gets passed. So it's just like, but they may not have the best ideas or their laws contradict each other. Like that happens a lot.
It
I
does.
don't know, man. It's American politics is, like I said, there's a reason I don't really like choose to dive too deep into it or even try to keep up with what's going on, because it kind of lowers my morale just because it's just it's a lot of pettiness between people of differing opinions, like I said earlier. So
It's definitely a lot to comprehend. And
yeah.
I mean, everybody has their own opinion, but you're absolutely right about like opposing parties. I mean, they're constantly